What's up, y'all? It's Ty, back here with a video. And in this video today, we're going to be reacting to SROS, talking about the dumbest thing every team could do this offseason. Now, I'm obviously a Timberwolves fan, so I'm interested to see what he says about them, but I'm also interested to see what he says about, like, the Lakers.
A couple videos ago on the channel, I did something where I gave every team a suggestion on what they should do.
I watched it.
Upcoming
Yep. I reacted to that as well. Make sure to go watch that as well.
We're going to be doing the opposite of that, and we're going to say one thing that would be the dumbest thing for every NBA team to do this upcoming offseason. So like always, if you agree or disagree with any of my takes, please let me know.
I'll let you know, okay? I'll let you know.
Below. And if you do enjoy these style of videos, I'd appreciate it if you drop the thumbs up. Let's get into this. So we're going to start things off with the Charlotte Hornets. They're still in kind of a retool right now. New ownership, new front office, new head coach. Going into the full LaMelo Ball break.
Is it just me or is this music loud?
The Miller era, I think it would be silly for them not to take on any bad contracts this offseason while also taking on some nice draft picks.
Why would they want Ben Simmons? Disgusting.
To take on those bad contracts. Like, I'd take on Ben Simmons, even if John Collins could go and you can get a pick in return, I would do something like that. So yeah, Charlotte, you're not contending next year. Take on these bad deals, but get some added draft capital. For the
Ben Simmons is crazy. That's crazy.
Heat, I think it'd be trading Tyler Hero for an older veteran like a Paul George who more fits Jimmy Butler's timeline. I would not do that right now.
I just don't think the Heat, I mean, and it's crazy for me to say, but like, do we think that they could actually win a title? I mean, maybe, I guess, but it's just like, I feel like their runs have been just so crazy unlikely. I don't know. They're aging. I think I'd rather them just go young.
I don't really think Paul George is that much of an upgrade over Tyler Hero. It's an upgrade in the short term, but I don't know about the long term.
Okay, I was going to say, what?
Heat era, you're looking more towards the Bam and side piece of Bam going forward. For the Atlanta Hawks, it would be to trade Trae Young to pretty much any team, not named the San Antonio Spurs. I can get the reasoning if you're going to get your first round picks back that you gave up in the...
So if you don't want them to trade Trae, what do the Hawks need to do then?
DeJounte Murray trade. But if you're going to trade him to any other team and get some draft capital, what's the point of that? Because in those non-Trae Young years that you don't own those first round picks, you're going to be bad. You don't want to be like the...
That's true. That's a good point.
Brooklyn Nets this season.
If they don't own their... That's true.
And be bad going forward and not have your draft pick. So if you're going to trade Trae Young, let it be to San Antonio. If they're not interested, it better be an absolute haul for you to move them in general this offseason.
Yeah, they're in a bad situation. Like, Trae is not going to... They're not a winning organization right now.
The Washington Wizards, I'm going to say drafting another wing if they don't trade away Kyle Kuzma. There's no point in drafting Zachary Reese-Sachet at 2, keeping Kuzma, having Bilal and Denny. It's kind of a logjam there.
It's a big-time logjam with a bunch of young talent.
I would move on from Kyle Kuzma if you're going to take a wing at number 2, especially if you could still get 2 heavily protected first-round picks or something like that. So I think I would go that route.
I think they should trade
Kyle Kuzma.
100%.
I'd still look at a guard or a big man at number 2.
There's no reason to have it.
Trade down. For the Orlando Magic, it would be not adding a starting caliber shooter like a Malik Monk.
Really? I think they need scoring.
If you're trading for Jordan Clarkson this offseason, I just need to see them add some floor spacers around Paolo Banchero. Too many.
Okay, maybe, but they get boxed at times. The Magic need a scoring punch.
Inconsistencies from guys like Franz Wagner, in the playoffs, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, a pending free agent. These guys are not consistent shooters. Let's get another one that could
shooter definitely would help them, for sure.
Paolo Banchero for the playoffs in 2025. For the New York Knicks, it would be trading Julius Randle in a lateral move for somebody like a Karl Anthony Towns. There is no point in doing that.
I low-key agree from the Knicks side of, like, what is the point of that? What are you gaining?
Like a Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, if you can leverage Julius Randle into someone better than Julius Randle, I could definitely see that. But there's no point in just going from Randle to somebody that's just going to...
I kind of agree. Like, Randle, like, he's not necessarily great, but what are you going to get for him?
You equal production to Randle, especially if they're on a bigger contract going forward. If I'm the Knicks, I'm pretty much just trying to re-sign OG and Hartenstein and run this team back. For the Brooklyn Nets, it would be to pretty much trade their treasure chest of draft picks from Phoenix and Dallas and Philly down the line for Trae Young. I don't really see a point in that right now, especially if you had to give up.
They're not going to win right now anyways.
Mikal Bridges, because even if you keep Mikal and you have a duo of him and Trae Young, where's
they're
that
not
going in
winning.
The East? You're not better than Boston. You're not better than some of these other teams right after Boston, and you're trading away any solid draft picks.
He thinks they could do that? I don't know. I think they could
have in the long term, because you don't know.
I would not touch Trey. I wouldn't.
You kind of need those other first-round picks from teams going forward. For Boston, it's pretty much just going to be not adding another big. Kristaps Porzingis has his injury concerns every year. Al Horford is not getting any younger.
It don't matter because Al Horford he's a journeyman.
Xavier Tillman's a free agent. Only so much you can rely on Luke Cornett. So I need to see this team add a big man this offseason. If they don't, it'd be pretty dumb. For the Philadelphia,
I'm not gonna lie. I get what he's saying. KP has had a lot of injuries, but if they can get Al back, Al's been fine. He's been fine.
76ers, it would be signing Paul George to a max contract. There is no point in Philadelphia to just add another 20-ish point per game scorer when you already have two good ones, two great ones in Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. You need role players, guys that will play defense, hustle, crash.
Paul George will play defense, though. Let me tell you, he will play defense. Paul George can D up.
Offensive and defensive glass. That will help you win playoff series. There's no point in adding a veteran like a Paul George.
I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority. I think he could help Philly win.
This offseason,
genuinely, I think he could help him win.
Ended up doing that. I think that'd actually be pretty dumb. For Toronto, it's not adding any big man depth because Jakob Poeltl is a fine starting center, but they need to get younger.
He's
in my opinion,
so
more
mid. Like, get younger. There's no point in him.
Around that position as well. It could be at the 4. It could be at the 5. I would like for them to maybe draft one in the draft if there's a good one available, like a Khalil Ware or like a Yves Missi. I just don't know if Jakob Poeltl.
My thing is, like, the Raptors, what is the point? Go young completely. They're not trying to win for real anyways.
The long-term play. So I'd start thinking about who's going to be next in line when Poeltl's contract is done in Toronto. For the Denver Nuggets, it's letting KCP walk. They need to bring him back at all costs.
They do. They do. And I think it's going to be a high cost, but they got to bring KCP back. He's so good.
I know he didn't play well in the playoffs, but you need someone that has the 3-and-D mindset
He's
like
so
him.
Good.
And he knows where to be on the floor. He's been playing alongside Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray for years now.
The Nuggets are not the Nuggets without him.
If you try replacing him in the aggregate, you may not get that consistent play that KCP has given you in the playoffs before and throughout the regular season. So even if it's going to the luxury tax and going well over that to bring back KCP, you have to do it.
I agree. KCP is so good.
Maximize this window right now. For Oklahoma City, it'd be not trading Josh Giddey. There is no point in running this team back with Giddey. Even if you're not going to get full return value for him, he's going to be a restricted free agent in 2025. So this is basically potentially his last year here because you can't afford to pay Giddey along with Shea, Chet, Jay.
It depends. It depends what Giddey's value is. I genuinely think Giddey can figure it out and be a really good player in this league, though. I really do. Off the court issues, obviously, whatever they are. He never got proven anything. I don't know this situation on that. It was a rough situation, but he did not shoot the ball or play well this year. But I still think when Giddey can figure it out, he could be really good. What can they get for him? I don't know. That's a tough
some of these other role players that actually stepped up for you in the playoffs, like an Aaron Wiggins, like an Isaiah Joe, like a Kason Wallace. Those guys actually contributed, knocking down
this
shots,
year. Yes,
defense. Josh Giddey didn't really do either of those two. Good facilitator, but someone that is not, I think, going to make winning plays as a secondary guy for you in the playoffs. So I would trade Giddey right now this offseason. You can still get a good return.
The problem is his value is not as high as it once was. That's the problem I see with Josh Giddey.
If they don't, I think it's kind of dumb. For Minnesota, it's adding a younger guard. You got to figure out who's going to be alongside Anthony Edwards going forward. Mike Conley.
I mean, yes. But the thing about it is, how do you do that right now? How do you do that right now? Tell me, what are you doing to find a young guard right now?
He's getting up there in age. He's gonna
like
have
drafting one? I don't
with him
what
as
he's
getting the wear and tear come April and May and hopefully June for Minnesota. Monty Morris is a free agent. They need to add a point guard. It could be in free agency. Could be in the trade market. There's some good ones in the draft that they're going to be picking in the late 20s. They can get a Bob Carrington, a Tyler Kolek.
That's the thing I see is like add a young guard. Like draft one.
AJ Simpson and AJ
That's what
Mitchell,
I see.
Even a Juan Nunez. Take somebody that
draft a guy that can be a backup point guard. I low-key like Kolek. I like Kolek in Minnesota. Obviously, he's already good. But I think he's a perfect backup point guard.
Could be next in line once Mike Conley is gone because you don't own your first-round picks every other year from the Gobert.
And they got to stay good.
I think it'd be pretty silly if Utah traded Lowry Markkanen in this offseason because you're probably not going to get amazing draft picks unless you're sending him to OKC. So
I don't know, man. Lowry is so good. I think he's so good.
You're getting some of those future Clippers picks or valuable ones, or maybe you're sending them to Houston to get those Nets picks. Sure, do that. But if you're not really getting those draft picks, I think it'd be very dumb to trade Lowry Markkanen. You got a great player in return for Donovan Mitchell. Usually in those
You do.
trades,
You absolutely did. He is so good.
you're getting very young, inexperienced guys, some draft picks, but you got someone that was an all-star last year, was the 2023 most improved player. Extend him. Give him $35 million a year. That is fine. He could be a number 2, in my opinion.
I agree. 35 mil is not bad for Lowry, but the thing is, are they just going to build young around him? That's my question, because the Jazz are not going to be good this year either.
Championship team, you're eventually going to find that number 1, hopefully, but
Maybe.
even if it doesn't work out in Utah, you can trade him down the line for a desperate team when Markkanen is in his prime. So I think it would be really dumb for them to trade him this offseason.
Lowry's
unless he
good.
pretty much tells them he's not coming back in 2025. Portland, trade some veterans this offseason. See if you can get anything in return for
If anybody wants DeAndre Ayton, I don't know.
Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant.
Brogdon is really good, though. So is Jeremy Grant. Ayton, I don't know.
Matisse Thybulle. Let's free up some of this room for their 2 lottery picks coming in, as well as...
And they should, the thing for Portland is they're going to stink again. So yeah, just go young. What's the point of Ayton or Jeremy Grant or Malcolm Brogdon? There is none.
Their plethora of young talent.
There's no
more
point.
Ryan Repair next year. Some more Chris Murray, more Tamani Kamara, Jabari Walker, and obviously your Scoot, Simons, and Sharps of the world.
Exactly.
I want to see them
Just
play
go
more.
young.
I want to see whoever they drafted 7 and 14.
Give them a
even
chance at
start
least.
some games. So yeah, if you can get a first or another young player, or just even down the line draft picks, do that. Trade these veterans.
I agree.
Please.
They need
For the
to.
LA Lakers, you got your first round pick this year. The Pelicans are now taking your first round pick in 2025. I think it'd be pretty silly if you drafted Bronny James at 17 and make LeBron happy. That will set your franchise back a little bit. You need to hit on this draft pick because you don't own your first round pick.
See, the Bronny James situation is crazy because I think LeBron wants to play with his son. So, I don't know. It's an interesting situation.
In 2020.
Because if they don't get Bronny, what's LeBron going to do?
You're most likely not going to own it in 2027 either, so you kind of need to draft a rotational piece here or use that pick to leverage it in a trade. I don't know who's going to be the head coach next year. Will it be Dan Early? Will it be JJ Redick? I'm not
I don't know. Hurley's supposed to announce something today. Like, I don't know when or why or how, but he's supposed to announce something today. I'm gonna look and see if he has, released anything yet. I don't think he has, but I don't know. It will be interesting to see.
But what I do know, if they drafted Bronny at 17, it'd be a disaster. And for Phoenix, drafting Bronny James at 22 would be even dumber for a team that doesn't have many rotational guys right now.
But the thing is, you got to realize they're drafting Bronny to get LeBron. That's their goal. I get it. Rookies can be so valuable, but at 22, are you probably going to hit on anything? I don't know. But even for the Suns, Kolek, I think is a perfect fit. Draft him.
You have KD, Booker, and Beal, Nurkic, Nasir
Draft
Little,
Kolek.
David Roddy, Grayson Allen, and you can move this.
He said David Roddy. Yikes.
First round pick, which I'm fine with if you can get actually a starting caliber player. But if you're just going to draft Bronny at 22 on the hopes that you can bring in LeBron on a veteran minimum, which I don't think he's going to take, that'd be crazy.
He's not going to take a vet minimum. That's crazy.
Because, if it works out, it works out. And LeBron comes and you can maybe win it all next year with that core, sure. But the odds of that happening are still so low, even if you drafted Bronny at 22.
You'd have to know prior if LeBron James would do that, but you're not going to know because Bron wants to stay in LA.
Fire back on you so badly, and that could set the franchise back if you're not getting a rotational piece or someone that can eventually start for you down the line at 22. That would actually be the dumbest move of the offseason if they did that.
It's the Suns, though. What do you expect?
It'd be maxing out Klay Thompson.
Man, do not max him. Do not max him. If Klay gets a max, you're cooked.
They gave him a 2-year deal. Even if you're overpaying for him in 2 years, you cannot have another Andrew Wiggins long contract on your hands. You're also paying Draymond Green for the next couple of seasons as well. I would offer Klay, even if it's 2 years, $80 million, and you're like, wow, $80 million's a lot, but at least it's a 2-year deal, right? Klay wasn't horrible last year.
And Klay's only going to get worse, probably.
He kind of embraced that off-the-bench role. $40 million's a lot of money, but I'd rather pay him $40 million this year and next year than $30 million in 2027.
Over 5 years, yeah,
when
for
he's
sure.
Even older. So if Klay wants a long-term deal, I'd unfortunately have to let him walk. But if he would take a short-term deal, bring him back. Just don't max him out for a 4-year deal. All right, Los Angeles.
I agree, because in 4 years, Klay's not going to be good.
The Clippers, do not trade any future draft picks. You need to at least remain somewhat competitive until you get your first-round picks back in the future.
The thing about it with it is, the Clippers went all in. And I'll say it, the Clippers are in a bad position right now. They're in a very bad position, a horrible position right now. Their players are getting older, and it just looks horrible.
This team will have a very, very dark future if they start to lose games with none of these draft picks. You know what? I would just try to stay competitive with bringing back Paul George, bringing back Harden. You have Kawhi. I'm not going to bet on them being healthy in the playoffs next year.
They're just getting older.
You're not going to lose a top 5 pick top 10 pick in the draft. You're going to lose the 20th pick every year, which you could stomach. You just cannot afford to trade anymore.
But it does, at this stage, you got to try to at least regain your future. Who cares at this stage? You don't have that pick anyways. You've got to, at some stage, get your future back.
Picks. You just can't. For Sacramento, they're probably...
But if I am the Clippers, I guess run it back and see what can happen. If they stay healthy, maybe.
You're going to lose Malik Monk this offseason. They can't afford him in the max. They're probably going to get
Malik
outbid
Monk
for him
is gone
in free agency. If you can leverage a sign and trade, great, but probably not going to happen. So I would just not let one of Jared McCain, Devin Carter, or Tristan DeSilva pass up on you at number 13. Those are 3 guys that can help you compete next year. They can all shoot.
It just stinks for Sacramento. Like, they finally get a decent team, and it's just
all defend in some type of way. Just draft one of those guys rather than a project play that may not be ready till 2026 or 2027. For Indiana, I think it'd be pretty dumb if they re-signed Obi Toppin. And
Agree. They don't have room for Obi Toppin.
Or Jalen Smith. I think Obi's great. He's a good locker room guy. But why are you going to try to block Jarris Walker getting even more minutes next year? He's
even a Benedict Mathurin. I don't know where he fits in.
Struggled getting minutes this year, and they added Pascal Siakam, so he's probably never going to start for them in the next couple of seasons. You got to re-sign Siakam this offseason, so I don't want Jarris Walker to be the 3rd-string power forward or the 3rd-string center going into next year's season. It'd also be dumb for them not to extend TJ McConnell. He means a lot to them. Get that.
TJ was hooping in the playoffs
this offseason, Indiana. For Detroit, it's overpaying Tobias Harris, 100%.
Like, it'll be interesting to see what Tobias Harris gets. I would not pay him much at all. He's older. He's
You're going to give Tobias Harris a lot of money. Just give it to DeMar DeRozan. We know what Tobias Harris is, and yes, he can help you out in the regular season, and that's all Detroit needs. But I'd rather get someone that can lead a team or at least be a better veteran in that locker room rather than Tobias Harris. So that'd be pretty dumb this offseason if you overpay for Tobias. For Cleveland, it's trading Darius Garland at his lowest.
I agree. Cleveland, I know a lot of people want. I'd hold on to Garland.
Value. Garland had such high trade value at the end of the 23 season. Had a little bit of a down year this year. I think
he did, 100%.
At his floor. Don't do that. I mean, Cleveland has a lot of big decisions to make.
They got to figure out a ton. They do. But Garland, I think, he's young. He's going to figure it out. He'll be fine.
And I think if you're going to go all in on a big man, it's Evan Mobley, and you move Jared Allen, it can open up the floor for them. So I think it's either moving Garland at his lowest value or just not trading Jared Allen this offseason. For Milwaukee, it's trading away future picks. Just like the Clippers, you don't own many of your first-round picks going forward, but unlike the Clippers, you guys actually have a good franchise talent in his prime in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yes, he struggled to stay healthy in the playoffs over the last 2 years.
So if you don't want to trade away future picks, what do you want to do if you're Milwaukee? That's my question.
But he's still in his prime. I wouldn't trade those future picks. You need to get younger. You need to get more athletic. So just don't trade any first-round picks for some average role players.
Look, I don't know. The Milwaukee Bucks have Middleton aging. They have Brook Lopez aging. They have Dame aging. Like Giannis aging. Like Bobby Portis aging. Like they're old. This is their timeline. I don't like this one. If you have to trade future picks, who cares? The Bucks' time is now. It is.
It would be so dumb if Chicago ran this team back, and it seems like they're going to be doing that. I'm fine with them taking an NBA-ready guy at 11 if it's a Devin Carter.
Yeah, what is the point of them running it back? They're not winning anything.
If it's a Tristan DeSilva,
they're not winning
I'm
anything.
fine with it. But I do not want to see Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan all on the floor for this Bulls team next year.
They don't even want to be on the floor together.
Just be so dumb because you're going to end up with the 11th overall pick in a loaded 2025 draft, and you're going to be like, wow, we really should have lost a couple more games. But you're not going to be doing that by bringing back this core that's going to make you in the playing tournament. Great. For Dallas, they're in the finals, so this is great. They want to run most of the team back. I think bringing back Tim Hardaway Jr. would be a mistake.
Why would they? I don't even think they could do this. Like, it would make no sense to bring him back. They've got Josh Green. They got a lot of young talent. They do not need
I don't know if Charlotte would take on a Tim Hardaway contract going back to them before, but I would call them up. I would even attach Olivier Maxence Prosper. I know a young talent. Rather attach him than a Derek Lively, obviously, or Jaden Hardy or Josh Green. So I'd look to get off of that Tim Hardaway Jr. contract this offseason.
You got to try. I mean, it's horrible.
Re-sign Kyrie, and then you could hopefully use a mid-level exception once again with that money you freed up from trading away THJ. So I think it'd be pretty dumb if they kept him next year. For Houston, it would be extending Jalen Green. Do not give him the rookie max extension. He had a good month last year, but he had a lot of poor months. For
Jalen Green's an interesting one because I've been so low on him, but at his peak, he is such a bucket getter. I don't know,
Houston,
man.
You don't need to re-sign him.
They don't need him, though. He's
a restricted free agent next year in 2025. Do what the Sixers did with Tyrese Maxey last offseason. See how he plays this year. If he's consistent throughout 82
They still got his rights. So what's the point?
Then sure, extend him. Just don't do it right now.
Better hope he doesn't get all NBA. That's all I'm going to say.
You don't have to. Memphis needs to add a big this offseason. They're in a good position to do so. They could do a sign and trade with Nick Claxton or Isaiah Hartenstein. They could try to trade up in the draft to get Donovan Clingan as well.
If Memphis could get if they could get a solid big, I don't hate Claxton, but and build it like their team is good. Memphis could be good.
They cannot rely on Jaren Jackson Jr. to be their top rebounder in a playoff series. They need to add someone that can play alongside him.
I agree, but even a healthy Brandon Clark is decent. I don't know about a center, but he's a solid player too.
Or at least help out on the offensive glass. For the Pelicans, I think it would be adding a non-floor spacer next to Zion at the 5. Someone that's also going to clog the paint because Zion isn't...
Zion needs room. He does. He needs room. He needs room to operate.
So I think having someone that could open up the floor for Zion would be great. Like, even if you're adding a Zach Edey next to Zion, not a great idea just because that paint is going to be so clogged.
Zach Edey is crazy. I think he shot well in the combine, though, right? Like, he knocked down some threes, I think.
And your offense is going to be kind of stagnant at times, you know? And lastly, for the San Antonio Spurs, not getting Wemby a lead initiator. They need someone that can get Wemby the...
I think for San Antonio, the question needs to be, what is your goal? Is your goal to compete now? I like the Garland idea because he's young, but I would not mortgage your future for Trae Young. Garland is young. I like this. And Trae's not old, but Garland I like more than Trae Young.
The ball, if it's a Trae Young, if it's a Garland, if it's drafting somebody at 4 or 8, they need to get a...
through the draft, I like more than any
franchise point guard that can get Wemby the ball. It'd be very dumb if they don't really upgrade that spot this offseason. So yeah, that's going to be...
I agree, but again, even for the Spurs, don't go old. Your timeline's not old. You've got Victor Wembanyama. Don't go old.
There's one thing that would be every team's dumbest idea if they did this offseason, or just one thing they should not do. Let me know if you agree or disagree.
I low-key agree with a lot of this, even for the Timberwolves. Finding that next point guard's fine. Let me know your thoughts on his takes. For the most part, thought they were pretty solid. Drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.